Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you in another video. All right, so taking a little bit of my cues from Trevor Lane this morning. I like what he did with his show this morning, talking about the concept of building the Lakers up from where we are right now, assuming we're moving forward with Anthony Davis and LeBron James still. You know, his idea was to recreate either the 2020 Lakers, who won the championship, or try to take the mold from the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is a similar build with bigs and defensive wings surrounding AD and Braun. I think when I look at the roster myself and what I would like to add to the situation if I had to, the best way for me to build is still two-star model with role players and high-level role players, good role players. Maybe I can sneak in somebody who will take a pay cut of some sort, depending on what I'm canvassing in the free agency market. But the idea for me is to take a look at what I'm definitely going to have, assuming I don't make any trades off of what I have and things are coming and going based on free agency. The idea for me is to identify whose role is going to be elevated this year and what coach I'm bringing in and what their style is going to be. So that really determines a lot. If I'm going to bring in a high-powered coach that is emphasizing wings and perimeter defense, then I obviously am going to keep Cam Reddish, Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, if at all possible. These guys are going to ultimately stay. Now, I say Cam Reddish reluctantly because I know you would probably want to move on from him based on what we saw last year, although he did some really good things, particularly stealing the ball. We just got to get him in positions to not be relied upon to shoot. And what I see in regards to the team that we have right now is obviously we need our center position to be upgraded, but we don't have enough shooting. We relied upon Taurean Prince, who was arguably our best shooter last year, not named D'Angelo Russell, of course, who's likely moving on in free agency. When I look at the Lakers, there are two things that I need to add besides a big. So three things. A big for certain. And I likely, in my opinion, want to use the draft pick that we have to draft that big, because it's going to be about 3 or 4 bigs in our range that should be worthy of getting. Yves Messi. I don't think Donovan Clingan will be available, but you never know if he's available. Obviously, that's the best player in the area for us. I think he's going to be probably gone in the first 15 picks. We're at 17, but it's going to be some centers there, basically. My mind is going to blank, but there are going to be some centers there. I'm probably going to draft a center with that pick. What I'm also going to do is probably pair 2 players, 2 of my role players, trade them for one singular two-way guy who can defend. I don't necessarily have a player in mind. I'm just going to canvass the league and see who wants to shop around and maybe try to find myself Eric Gordon. Not necessarily Eric Gordon because he's a little over the top in terms of his age, but somebody who can do what he does, shoot the ball and defend. I need a two-way player at the wing, somebody that should be fairly reliable as my 7th or 8th guy. I need that player. And I'm going to take 2 of these role players that I likely have held over. I don't know who they are, but I'm going to send them out and I'm going to bring that player back. So I ain't did too much thinking about what has to move on. It ain't probably going to be Austin. If we can do a sign and trade with D'Lo, I'm probably going to try to make that $20 million represent that player. If not, maybe I'm taking one of my 2 centers that I'm bringing back and adding Taurean Prince if I can get a sign and trade with him, something like that. Maybe I take Jalen Hood-Schifino, although I don't actually think I'm moving on from Jalen Hood-Schifino in my mind's eye right now, but I'm taking something. 2 somethings or 3 somethings, including a second round pick if I have one to trade, and I'm going to get myself a two-way player. I don't know who that is. Jae'Sean Tate, maybe, although he doesn't shoot the ball very well. He can definitely defend, offensive rebound, scoring the paint. They got plenty of those over there in Rockets land, so I could probably pry him away from the Rockets if he's not a free agent. Somebody like that. I'm going to go get that person. That's what comes to mind. What I also need to reinforce more of is shooting. Because when I look at the players we're bringing back, Cam Reddish is signing back with the team on an option, so we know we have him. You got Vanderbilt coming back who cannot necessarily shoot very well. Austin's a good shooter, but I don't know how he's going to shoot next year since this wasn't his greatest shooting year. Anthony Davis, I can't rely upon to shoot the three ball. LeBron James shot above 40% last year. I don't know who he's coming back as throughout the course of his career. He's not a reliable three-point shooter. This was his best three-point shooting year. Maybe he's going to be this way permanently. Maybe he regresses. I got to be ready for him to regress. I'm bringing in a shooter. I'm bringing in somebody who's going to be able to stay on the floor, play defense, and shoot the ball. A part of me wonders if I should trade pick number 17 down to try to get 2 picks. I don't know if it's worth that to the market, but if I trade 17 for 25 and 26, can I get my shooter and my big? That may be a lot of rookies I'm relying upon, so maybe that's not the greatest thought for most, but I'm thinking about fitting need. And I'm just hopeful that the player that I bring in doesn't need to spend so much time in the G League, which in this draft they probably do, since it's not a very talented draft. But that's neither here nor there. The point is I'm trying to get 2-for-1s, and I need two-way players. So that's what I'm doing. My roster's not going to probably be as talented as it was last year because of what it is I need to probably do, but I am trading 2-for-1s. Take your Christian Wood and sign and trade Taurean Prince, although this might not be possible, and I'm shipping that out for that two-way guy. Wing, probably somebody 6'7", play defense, shoot the ball. Chances are that player's probably worth more than what it is I'm willing to pay. Who knows how this works? But this is the ideal idea. I want that player on my team. They got to be able to shoot the three ball, preferably above 38%. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of player we need to bring in, man. We need that type of player because at the end of the day, a lot of what is going to be on the floor this year are going to be players that we can't really rely upon to shoot the ball. They're going to want to play Vanderbilt a lot. They're going to want to play Anthony Davis a lot, probably together. You're going to have Gabe Vincent on the floor. Gabe Vincent has turned out to be somebody that I can't rely upon at all to shoot the ball. So if I'm considering trading anything for 2-for-1, it's going to be him and something else somewhere. Because I do think he showed enough last year to say he's going to come back a nice player. But what he cannot do is shoot the ball. If I'm going to have him on the floor and Vanderbilt, and then I got Anthony Davis and LeBron James, my spacing is going to be compromised potentially, depending on how bad Vincent shoots the ball. And the way he shot it this year, even though we only saw him in the beginning and the end of the season, I mean very beginning, like preseason, he was shooting like 15% from behind the arc. I cannot take the risk of him being a regular rotational player with the deficiencies I have mainstayed in my lineup. Can't happen. He's got to move. And I like Gabe Vincent. I think he'd be good on this team, but we're too deficient shooting the ball to risk him coming back shooting poorly to start the season. That's what it comes down to. Plus, coming off a knee injury, if I can, it's a little risky in my mind, but if I can pair up Gabe Vincent and Jalen Hood-Schifino and send them out for that piece, I'll probably do it. I'm not really big on giving up Jalen Hood-Schifino at 20 years old, but look, we're looking at a guy that's coming off a back surgery, and we're looking at another guy that's coming off a knee injury. If I can get out from under those injury problems early, I'm going to do that. Because at the end of the day, I don't need Jalen Hood-Schifino, young point guard, as much as I need to not be injured this season. At the end of the day, even if I want to develop Jalen Hood-Schifino, to what ceiling? Because I'm going to likely end up paying $250 million for a point guard somewhere down the road any damn way, or a primary ball handler any damn way. So I don't need that kid. And that's something we should have had in mind when we drafted him. If you're going to use the only pick you have over the next 4 years, arguably, depending on what we decided to mortgage on a point guard, knowing that the field has a bunch of point guards you're likely going to want to draft, sign, like Trae Young or something like that. That was just a stupid draft pick all the way around. It really was. So I don't know what type of, his value's in the toilet because of the back surgery and the poor rookie season. So I probably do want to hold on to him to raise his value. But I don't know if I have time for that based on the limited assets I have and what needs to happen in order for me to build properly. I just probably don't have time for that. So that's, if we can get away with not trading Jalen Hood-Schifino and still get things done, I won't be upset about that. But I think of him as somebody we probably could be best based on what we have moving on from to get that two-way player. Because, see, the problem is, Lakers, you don't have enough shooting, and you are relying upon one-way guys far too often. That's the problem. We couldn't find decent lineups because we needed to give up so much because dudes could only play on one side of the ball. If we can trade two of them type of dudes to get us a guy who can stay on both sides of the floor, we'll win. We'll win. We'll be a much better basketball team. Get me a Andrew Nembhard or something like that. Get me a OG Anunoby or something like that. This is what we need. Whether we like it or not, whether we want to do that or not, it doesn't matter anymore. These are the players that we need. Maybe even drafting a player like that with the 17th overall pick. I also understand we have 55 in the second round. Probably moving that. Because I don't really need to be developed. First of all, I don't have enough two-way contracts. Not two-way. What do they call that? Three-way. Whatever they call that. Those contracts for young players. You can keep like 2 or 3 of them. I don't have enough of those to guarantee that player that I draft in the second round is even going to have a spot. We keep on letting go of prospects that we like Fudge and those players, so that we can bring in new ones, only to drop them to bring in new ones, only to drop them to bring in new ones. We got to pick somebody that we like in that position and keep them there, because we did far too much switching up. We brought in that guy that rebounded the ball very well, that played for the New York Knicks G League team, the Caucasian dude. Don't even remember what his name was. He didn't get like 2 minutes on the floor in Darvin Ham's system, and ended up letting him bounce. Meanwhile, Alex Fudge is going to be in Dallas for the next several years, developing into who it is we should have kept him to be. That's the type of crap that I don't even want to go down that path anymore. We need to get some good two-way players in that way. I think they call that two-way. Whatever the hell that contract is called. Get 3 of those and keep them around, man. And don't be so reactionary. That's what I think we were doing. We were giving away good prospects to be reactionary. Oh, we need this. All right. But Darvin ain't going to use that. Lucky enough for us, we got rid of Darvin, but we also got rid of those prospects. Just got to stop doing that. Alex Fudge should still be a Laker. Nevertheless, this type of stuff I'm thinking about. So that's that pick there, that second rounder specifically, is probably going out coupled with your Gabe Vincent, coupled with something else, and I'm going to get my singular 6th best guy that can play two-way basketball, preferably at the small forward position. I need that two-way small forward, lengthy, Paul George light type dude. I need that player. Especially if we're going to lose Max Christie for nothing, which it looks like it could be possible, although I hope it doesn't happen. Another thing we have to understand is if we're going to ask Max Christie to play a bigger role, then that facilitating connective point guard is going to be ever so important. I'm not asking LeBron James to be a facilitator. I don't want him to be the ball handler too much. He turns the ball over too much for that. I want my point guard in place. And if D'Lo's out, I don't trust Austin with the ball in his hands like that. In fact, Austin has proven he's probably best being an off-ball guard that can be a connective piece. You're still going to need that piece. If you're losing D'Angelo Russell, you're going to need that dude that can come out there in the starting lineup and run your offense. So if you don't have that piece in place, your team's going to look bad next year. Think Phoenix without a point guard. You don't want that. That's another reason why you probably don't necessarily just up and let go of Jalen Hood-Schifino. If you don't have an answer for that, you keep Jalen. That's really what it comes down to. So these are the type of things that I'm looking at, and it's kind of unfortunate because our team really is flawed, and we do have some guys holding over that kind of reinforce who we're going to be again, the same team. So I don't really know what the Lakers can do. The problem that we have is that even though we're losing guys like D'Angelo Russell, in theory, you don't necessarily, because of our tax problem, get to use the cap space that he's leaving behind to replace yourself with another $20 million player. From what I understand, however it's set up, if he goes out at $20 million, you still only have like $3 million or $4 million to use your roster, which is absolutely asinine. I don't know how the hell these owners agreed to that nonsense. This new CBA is an entire poison pill for most teams that want to build anything good that lasts for longer than 2 years. They have got to do away with the CBA, by the way. That thing is garbage. So that's what I have to say about that. But the Lakers need to find some two-way talent, man. You can't run out there with one-way dudes. You don't go out there with Austin and D'Lo again. Not together ever again. You don't go out there with Vanderbilt thinking that you're going to be fine when the spacing is going to be awful. You cannot deal with one-way players. And if you're going to keep Rui Hachimura, he needs to be working on defensive principles and IQ this offseason. Because if he comes back making some of the same mistakes he did last year, he's practically one way. Even though he can do things on the defensive end, he makes too many defensive mistakes schematically. He has got to improve and make a big jump in that area, and you're going to need them coaches to work with him, and we done fired all the damn coaches. So this type of stuff, like you fired Phil Handy. Phil Handy could be working with these young players in the offseason. Stupid decision, man. Very stupid decision. But either way, man, it's one of those situations where I need him to make a big jump defensively in order to consider him a two-way player. If not, then I need to be able to bring in somebody two-way to help with that if I'm keeping him around or I'm shipping him out. It's real, man, because our team, if I'm being honest with y'all, our team wasn't as good as I thought it was. And I didn't think we were that good, but we were worse than I thought. We really were, man. When you start looking at how Minnesota's running around, OKC, and these teams were a lot better than us. We were just getting away with LeBron and AD being healthy all year, which is something I'm not going to be relying upon this season. Rui Hachimura probably should be staying because I don't expect LeBron James playing those 73 games this year, especially coming off of Olympic basketball. No, I don't expect him to have that type of season. And AD is also going to be coming off Olympic basketball. I don't expect him to have that type of season. So you're going to need size, and you're going to need big bodies to stay in place. So your Vanderbilts, your Rui Hachimuras potentially are going to be very important, more important this year. And they need to make big jumps, and they need to stay healthy. So this is why I'm looking at this roster, and I'm saying my expectations, regardless of how we're able to put this thing together, is not championship. I don't think we have a championship ceiling right now with this core based on everything that has already been said and what it is that we have to do to build what we need. But if you want to exceed your expectations based on or exceed your expectations, you're going to have to find some guys that can stay on the floor and be two-way all day. Go down and play some defense at a high level, go down and score the ball. If they can't do both, you probably should not be acquiring them from here. We got too much of that already. And to be honest with you, some of that needs to go. I like Jarred Vanderbilt a lot, man. I really do. But the more I think about what he looks like on our team, the more I realize if we don't find the shooting, he could be a problem offensively. If we don't find excellent shooters to surround him with, he probably is going to be a problem in our spacing situation. Because the problem is you're going to have AD and Bron on the floor at all times. And again, neither one of them is shooters. Now, if we had Markkanen and Steph Curry, then Vanderbilt's never going to be a problem because they're going to be able to shoot whether space is there or not. They're going to garner so much attention space-wise, it's not going to be an issue. But because you got Bron and AD as your core, Vanderbilt can't be on the floor with them like that. And you expect to score over 90 points a game. Like, he's going to mess up their spacing. So my question is, am I crazy for thinking he probably shouldn't be on the team with those two? As much as I love what he does in a nutshell, am I crazy for thinking he should probably not be on the floor with AD and Bron? Because the spacing is bad. And then you don't have elite shooters to pull that spacing away. It almost forces you to bring back Taurean Prince because he's your best shooter. And of course, again, this is assuming D'Lo's gone. So it's like, I don't like this build. I don't like how this is already shaping up because we're asking Vanderbilt to come back off of the foot problem and then be on the floor as a non-shooter with a non-shooting core. Those are three players that ain't going to shoot the ball or create any space for anybody else. And then we got Austin Reeves, who I don't know how he's going to play this year. He came off such a bad year for his standards. I don't know who he's coming back as. And then I got a feeling, Vincent, with the injuries, when Vanderbilt already got the injuries, and then Jalen Hood-Schifino coming off of back surgery, and I asked him to make a jump. Max Christie coming in, who's developed very much behind schedule because of how coach used him. All of this is coming together to be mediocre as hell, man. I'm just letting y'all know. All of this is coming together to be mediocre before we even get started. So that's why I'm not a huge proponent of keeping this core together this season, because I don't think the upside of this core, based on what it is we have and what we could probably get, really looks that great, man. It doesn't look that great to me. I think we're probably, depending on what we're able to do, can be like a second round exit at best. So, and that's just based on a lack of assets to bring you what you need and the very, very serious needs that you have when you're building with this core. So shooting is important. Two-way wings are important. Point guard is important. And a very, very smart, savvy coach is important. If you can't bring yourself the things that you need, it doesn't really matter what you think you're going to do. You're just going to fizzle out. Probably going to have a year where you win less games than you did last year based on the expectancy for the availability of your core. You'll see why I think this should be blown up. Y'all see? I don't think you can really build anything championship worthy with what we have. I don't think so. And if we're not building for what's championship worthy, then we're just going out there to be a regular season team. And hopefully we can have a good enough season to make it so that the pick that the New Orleans Pelicans have is not a good one. Hopefully worse than 17, since they don't want to take 17 from us this year. That's really what you're shooting for, Lakers. Is to just make sure they have a bad pick. That's what your whole season is about to be about. Sucks. But nevertheless, that's really what comes to mind, man. I need my big, I need my shooters, I need my two-way wing. And I probably don't have enough to bring myself all of that unless I start accepting the fact that my 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th guy aren't going to be that talented, so that I could trade some of these dudes that are here to get those very solid to talented pieces. So that's what it really comes down to. I think that the acceptance that your team is not going to be as deep this year is probably the best bet to get yourself what it is you probably need to be as good as you're probably going to get. Otherwise, you just run it back with what you had last year with a different coach, and hopefully he utilizes it better. But then you understand you're missing some key pieces like D'Angelo Russell and maybe Taurean Prince, who signed to somebody else. And you still don't have your center that you need. So that's why I think trading away picks ain't it. You want to keep those picks and draft that center. You want to draft that center, or you will trade that pick for a center, which I don't think I'll ever do. Not a first rounder for any center in this league that likely is going to be available to me at that price. I'm probably not doing that. So yeah, man, these are the type of things I'm looking at. When you talk about wanting to build the Minnesota model, one thing I would tell people is the reason why the Minnesota Timberwolves have the ceiling that they have is because they have Anthony Edwards. It ain't because of that build. You replace Anthony Edwards with a regular shooting guard, and that team's out in the first round. I'm just being honest. He is why that is that. And so if you're not bringing that in, you don't have that you're not going to be able to beat them. You can put yourself to two centers together. But if that shooting guard or that guard ain't Anthony Edwards like level, you chasing fool's gold, buddy. You might as well just build something else. Not to mention that I'm not sure that model is going to work next year because of the type of teams that are going to be taking leaps forward. I look at the Houston Rockets. Next year, they're not going to come in thinking that it makes any sense to sit Cam Whitmore and Amen Thompson. Now you got to get with those speed demons. You see what I'm saying? Can your Minnesota build keep up with Houston? Not when they do what they're supposed to with their roster. Not when they got Green on the floor, Amen Thompson on the floor, Cam Whitmore on the floor, Alperen, Van Fleet, Smith. You could build your little Minnesota Timberwolves team, and they're going to run past them boys. That's what I know. You know what I mean? So it's like while we're trying to be reactionary to the field, we need to start anticipating what the field's about to be. Not what it is right now, but what it's going to be next year. And I'm telling you, if you really want to build something that's going to work for you, you had better be looking at Houston. That's who you need to be looking at, because they're the team with the highest level talent that can explode on you all night long. Explode. We saw what they did near the end of the season. It ain't going to be a surprise to me when they're one of the best teams in the league next year. And other teams who can't keep up with them are going to lose to them. So you're going to need explosiveness. If you really want to do something, you need explosiveness, you need athleticism, you need power, balance, and speed. If you don't have those things, you really ain't doing nothing in the West going forward. Just being honest. So yeah, no, I don't believe in being reactionary. I don't think that the 2020 Lakers of that year could win the championship in this era. I don't think so. I'm just being honest. I don't think so. I think a lot of them dudes is old as hell. That's why we didn't bring that team back. I never was willing to believe that we should have brought that team back, because what we were doing was bringing back a bunch of people who were done. We won a championship with a bunch of players who were done. That year, that was all they had left. You talking about bringing back Bradley. You talking about bringing back Morris, Dwight Howard. Them dudes was old right then and there. I never thought we should have brought that team back. I just thought we should have replaced those players with players that were similar, but not that team. Brought back that team, you probably wouldn't win as 40 games that year because that team was old, like really old. So that's something I wanted to say, man. I never agreed with bringing back 2020's team. You would have brought them back in 2021. It would have been a geriatrics ball club. You didn't have that ability. They were done. All of those guys needed to retire right away. So, and if you look around, none of them people are still in the league. Exception of Morris, who's what? Where is he? Dallas? Bench? Not even getting any minutes. So, yeah, these are the type of things that I'm looking at. I'm just telling y'all, man. If the Lakers are serious, if they're really serious about being as good as they really want to be, truthfully, they'll blow this damn thing up. They'll put C4 to this and start over. That way you can actually build something that will keep up with the field of whatever year it is, instead of working from a deficit position, trying to build something that really can't be built properly. It cannot be built properly. You're starting from a space where you're already lacking what it is you need to build. You can have all these wants. I want this, and this. And then when you go try out to get it, you find out you don't have enough money. The assets, the stuff that you want, you have ain't worth what you want. You know what I mean? That's what it really comes down to. The Lakers don't. You can be in denial about that if you want to be. But you're going to go out there and your team is going to be all right. Just all right, man. Salute to Kobe Minute that passed 2 minutes ago. But anyway, that's really what it comes down to, man. I want the Lakers, if they're going to keep AD and Bron, to trade 2-for-1s. We'll give up some of our depth, not all of our depth for a superstar, but some of our depth for higher level role players that can play both sides of the floor. That is what needs to happen, man. Both sides. If the dude can only play defense, he doesn't need to be added to the situation. If the dude can only shoot the ball and can't run around, can't do nothing but play on the offensive end, he doesn't need to be added to this team. You need OG Anunoby. You need defensive players, man, that play offense as well. Chris Middleton. Who else? You need those type of dudes, man. You need those type of dudes. And if you're not getting those type of dudes to fill in this roster around Bron and AD, particularly guys who could shoot the ball, 3-point shooters who could stretch the floor, then you're already going to find yourself in trouble. So we can go forward with Vanderbilt and Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves, but you're probably going to have to move one of them dudes to make it so that you have what you need. And then as a result, you're relying upon AD and Bron a little more because they're going to have to play more minutes since their backups are going to likely be out the door. The guys that are comparable in size, now they got to defend people they weren't asked to defend last year. See what I'm saying? You just don't have enough. We can be rah-rah about whoever we put in our uniform, but when we exit in the first round, those expectations should be exactly what they are, that you exit in the first round. So I'm never signing up for that. As a Laker fan, I'm like, yo, if I'm signing up to be mediocre or a regular season team, then let me blow this thing out. I don't believe in being in no man's land. I'll never consciously want to do that. I'm never going to actually be the Chicago Bulls. No, I'm not going to choose to do that. I'd rather be bad with picks than solid and continuing to lose and then getting like the 20th pick in the draft every year because of it. Solid out. I watched Kevin Garnett go through that in Minnesota for 7 or 8 years of his career. Solid first round exit. I watched Tracy McGrady go through that for the majority of his career. Solid out in the first round. Nah, I'm not signing up for that. Throwing players' careers away, doing that garbage. Anthony Davis would do better to go somewhere else and make their team a championship contender squad. Can you imagine how much better he would be if he were next to Wemby right now? Anthony Davis and Wembanyama, they'd never lose, bro. They would never lose. Because they got all the picks in the world to bring themselves up Paul George or whatever the third player would be. You know, if he went to New York, like, they have picks to get what they need. And that's what we're lacking. It's not the talent on the floor and the vision and all of that we're lacking. It's the ability to go get that stuff that's really lacking. It's the currency. So picks is what you need. Valuable players is what you need. Another superstar may not necessarily be the answer, but unless you want to retrade him at the trade deadline, which is absolutely something a superstar would never want to be a part of. but it might be your best bet to get in that currency. But you understand you're bringing him in to trade him. You're not bringing him in for the future. So if you bring a Trae Young here and you sell out the Lakers on the fans on the idea that he's going to be some great Laker, selling all these jerseys with his name on it, if the plan is to truly get as good as you need to be, you want to trade him soon, not too long from when you get him. And that's a horrible plan. If you ask me, that's a horrible plan. I've heard Lauri Markkanen's name a lot. I'd love to bring in Lauri Markkanen, but again, you get him here, you fall in love with the piece, and you need to trade him. Or he has injury issues, which is something that he has had problems with throughout the course of his career. So if I'm going to get my third star, I got to be able to believe that he's going to be on the floor for about 72, 80 games. Lauri's not that player. And chances are the player that is not somebody you're going to be able to acquire. Donovan Mitchell has injury issues. Trae Young is a small guy who you're going to be asked to do a lot of stuff. He's going to have injury issues if he don't already. You see what I'm saying? These are real things. We would love to have somebody like Mikal Bridges. That would be the ideal piece, but you can't go get him because Josiah ain't going to come off of him. Not to you. He wouldn't even trade you Kyrie Irving, so you know he ain't going to give you his prized possession over there. It's not happening. But that's your ideal piece. So, yeah, that's what it is, man. I tell you, I don't like any of this plan. This plan don't look good at all, man. Not from where I'm sitting. I think we'll have lofty expectations when they finally put together whatever they put together. But when it runs out there and it's not good enough, that's more so what I'm expecting. It's just where we're at. It's what we can afford, man. Like, you may need all these different pieces and things for your car, but the AC ain't going to be working, okay? You're going to have your windows probably only going to roll down halfway. Like, that's really what it is, because you don't have the money to fix it properly. You don't have the money for a new car, and you don't have the money to fix it. And you don't want to sell the car and ride the bus while you save your money. So it's like you're just going to ride around a decent little car, man. But when you try to speed race with homie over there with the souped up Ferrari or something, he going to speed right past you. That's kind of where the Lakers are at. Until you go and save your money and sell this car, you're going to be riding around only at half speed, friend. And you can tell everybody you got the best ride in the world, and maybe you get some people that want to ride in there with you. But they ain't going too fast. You know what I mean? That thing probably going to break down. So, good luck, Lakers. I'm serious. Good luck. I'm a great supporter of what you do, regardless. Whatever you put in your uniform, I'm going to be watching and following it with my channel. But I'm telling y'all before the offseason even starts that you don't have what you need to build what you need. You don't have it. So you can go out there in denial and keep on running this superstar model. Two-man, power forward, old man team. You know what I mean? We'll root for it. We'll blame the coach when it doesn't work. We'll find a player to, pretend that we're angry at or whatever the case may be. But I'm telling you, this is when the problem starts. Not then, now. So you got to figure that out. And if you're Rob Pelinka, you put us in this hole, brother. So there's a lot of people who are not too happy with you staying around to make another decision. And the more I sit here in this old rinky-dink car, the more I realize it was your mistakes that broke everything. So that's something to think about, man. PDL 44. I thank y'all for watching. Out.